Censorship. Warning. Censorship.
Fair enough.
Phase 2, you're allowed to have 10 people maximum together. There's way more than 10 people here.
Okay.
If you're in little groups all over, that's fine, but you're forcing yourself into one group. You're actually breaching the Carroll statutes now for being over the 10 limit.
It's not, I'm directing you now. Follow me. Follow me, let's go.
You want to come with me?
That's the case.
Let's go. Hey, let's go.
Go or not.
No, they had their chances. Let's go. Come on. Follow me or I'll put you in handcuffs. It's as simple as that.
What's that? We're allowed to.
Outdoor social gatherings and special public events are 25 people for outdoor stage 2 as of June 30th.
Okay, I'm not taking any tickets. No.
Nope.
No, I'm not taking any tickets.
It says so. That is the case.
And then our friend Nina comes running over and she's like, 25. And I'm like,
Well, here in Ontario, the science is different, which means that our rules and regulations are too. While other provinces are mostly back to actual normal, over the last year and a half in Ontario, we have gone from a full lockdown to being partially open, to a regional approach, to a color-coded approach, and now we have a phased approach that never actually ends all of the restrictions. And all of this falls under the Reopening of Ontario Act, which is oddly ironic considering it's the red tape that's standing in the way of everything being fully reopened. See, the laws change so much that no one can keep track anymore, not even the police. I covered this extensively last fall when only one side of the mask mandate was, and still is, being enforced with complete disregard for exemptions. It's still happening. I guess we just don't really hear about it as much anymore, from the mainstream media, of course. But the story that I'm bringing you today is a bit more embarrassing for law enforcement. They didn't like the scene of some people enjoying some good old-fashioned, like the before times, beach fun on a sunny summer day, especially when that fun involved no lockdown signs. That's an initiative started by the now estranged Conservative MPP Randy Hillier. Kyle Anthony didn't exactly know what the law was either. That was until well into his interaction with the police, but he recorded everything, and it views like a bunch of chickens running around with their heads cut off.
We're done talking. No, I don't have a business card. No. So pack up your stuff, guys. You're being asked to leave. Let's go.
The legal limit, okay? You're allowed to have maximum 10. There's 15 people. There's more than 15 people here. Okay?
Over the legal limit.
The legal limits. Yeah, no, I think we're good.
Have 10 people.
I don't think I'm not even. Is everyone else even really?
They have police enforcing bylaws?
Don't ask. That's not a bylaw. It's a different statute.
Okay.
Right?
Fair enough.
Phase 2, you're allowed to have 10 people maximum together. There's way more than 10 people here.
Okay.
If you're in little groups all over, that's fine, but you're forcing yourself into one group. You're actually breaching the Carroll statutes now for being over the 10 limit. So we're asking you.
So how far do you have to be to not be in breach of the limit?
Well, a lot farther than this. You have to do a 6-foot limit between groups. And you were not 6 foot.
So we got to do 10 people.
Under 10.
Under 10.
Yes.
So they're going to go over there next, Danny, and then they're going to go over there next, because they have over 10 and they're all crowded together. They're going to do it to everyone today. We'll make sure.
You got your group was brought to our attention, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, I'd like to lodge a complaint about that group then, no problem. I know, he said our group, but then there's a group over there that's all crowded together too, but he doesn't care about that. Specifically, it's because we have no more lockdown signs up. That's why they care.
We've already asked them to leave. We're not going to have this.
Wow, this is what they're asking to leave. Are we leaving?
Can you give us some space here to keep the
Oh, sorry, Britt, you got 5.9 feet away.
Were they the same ones that asked the other gentleman to leave?
It's in your report because I'll just get my ticket book and write everybody an $800 ticket. So
I'll take it to you.
okay, you and you, let's go to my car. No. Let's go. My car.
Well, what's the ticket for first?
Ask you to come to my car, please. We're going to my car. It's not. I'm directing you now. Follow me. Follow me. Let's go.
Take my phone. You want to come with me?
That's the case.
Let's go. Hey, let's go.
Go or not.
No, they had their chances. Let's go. Come on. Follow me or I'll put you in handcuffs. It's as simple as that.
It's okay.
Oh, and now you got to put your hand up? come with you? Come on.
That's generally how it goes.
No,
What's that?
we're allowed to.
Rules, outdoor social gatherings and special public events are 25 people for outdoor stage 2 as of June 30th.
Okay, I'm not
Why
taking any
10
tickets.
people?
No.
Nope.
No, I'm not taking any tickets.
It
That's
says
the case.
so. That is the case.
That is the case.
Are you calling Doug Ford? What's going on?
You might as well leave, man, because you're going to cause a disturbance and you're going to
Nina,
hold up. No,
Nina,
Just relax.
calm down.
She can leave.
You gotta
She's
calm
gonna be
down.
arrested.
You gotta calm
gosh,
down.
we're gonna do this again.
Calm down.
I'll be over.
Okay, come on.
Just go.
Come on.
She's gonna leave.
I will. Thank you. I got her.
No, you're already done because we're not gathering above 25.
Determine that, then that's...
We're not gathering above 25.
Your wife's phone.
Okay, but what are you doing?
I'm like a
But she's not. Doug Ford did.
Right.
Your
I
boss.
don't know that, so my partner's going to look it up.
Oh, okay. Do they not brief you daily about these things?
Well, we have other things to read about.
It seems like COVID's the only thing that's
I know, but COVID rules and restrictions.
what your aim is right now. You're hammering that home. So, like, you think that'd be...
The group was there bigger. The person that reported that was concerned more lockdowns. Somebody from your group has said that we're making this going to be bigger, a lot bigger. And they said, oh, I'm kind of concerned about that. So if you guys keep it down to the 25 maximum, and if you have a eating area, kind of dining area, it's only 6 max, because they just have a...
No, it's not concern. It's a fucking team.
You're eating, you're closer together.
By the government.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mortimer.
Have a safe day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we go
Yeah.
back to partying now, please?
Okay, so...
Thank you.
Are we good?
Here's Kyle's side of the story.
We were at the beach with our families and friends, and it was a relatively small group. It was headed up by No More Lockdowns Kitchener. They have a little beach party every Sunday, and everybody comes and dances and actually has a really good time, just kind of celebrating freedom and all that. And these two officers that were on the beach, we seen them earlier in the day. They were combing along, ticketing people for having a beer or, just silly minor stuff that, they try to fulfill the rules on. So originally what happened is we're having our dance festival, we're hanging out, and they come over our way, and I'm like, oh, they're going to get us because one of our guys had a beer, and I'm like, oh, here we go, we'll get a ticket for that. And so he goes to put it down. I was just like, yeah, don't even bother, man. You might as well just, And then they're like, you guys are gathering above the limit. And we're like, yeah, we're like 10 to 15 people, but so is that group over there. So is that group over there. And there was multiple. There's like 5,000 people on this beach. So we found it odd that it actually shocked us. We were kind of like, for a sec, like, wait a minute, that's what you're here for? So yeah, they basically told us we're above the gathering limits for the province. And, they started being like, so you have to leave, disperse. And I said, well, you didn't lodge go over to any of the other groups. And he's like, well, that's because no one lodged a complaint. I said, well, I'll lodge a complaint right now. There's 20 people in that group. There's 25 in that group. And he's like, and they start giving attitude like, oh, we're going to get there. Don't worry.
And they're all crowded together. They're going to do it to everyone today. We'll make sure.
You got your group was brought to our attention, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to I'll lodge a complaint about that group then. No problem.
And I said, because I think this has to do with the no more lockdown signs. So the way we have it set up is we have our tent, and then we have no more lockdown signs surrounding it, just because we want to show our freedom of expression. That's who we're there supporting, that we're out there on the beach enjoying, not being locked down. Mm-hmm. And I said that to him. I said, you're targeting us because of the no more lockdown signs. And he's like, oh, no. But again, he didn't target anyone else. So it was definitely profiling on that basis. So he continues to be like, okay, if you don't leave, you're getting a ticket. So I was just like, I'll take a ticket. Let's go.
I'll take a ticket.
Okay. Let's go to my car.
No.
And he centered out one of my other friends, Kurt, there, and said, oh, you're going to get a ticket as well. And he's just like, I didn't even do anything. So we ended up getting walked all the way across the beach to past every beach goer and family there, all the way back to their car. And that's where he pulls out his notepad. So he couldn't have done this right where we were. He had to take us all the way through the walk of shame. And we're standing there and he's getting our information and we're talking back and forth. And I'm pretty much just like, okay, I'll take the ticket at this point because they mean nothing to me. Like, for me, freedom is priceless. So it's like, write me as many tickets as you can. And then our friend Nina comes running over and she's like, 25. And I'm like,
what's that?
We're allowed to.
Rules, outdoor social gatherings and special public events are 25 people for outdoor stage 2 as of June 30th.
Okay, I'm not taking any tickets. No.
I'm trying to listen to the officer, but I'm listening to her and I'm like, wait a minute, is the gathering limit's 25? And she's like, yes. And he's like, I said, is this true to him? And he's like, oh, I got to call and make sure.
Right. Your boss. I don't know that, so my partner's going to look it up.
You don't know the laws? And so he ended up hopping on the phone, and about 5 minutes later, sure enough, he's like, oh yeah, it's 25. And I asked him, it's hard to make out in the video, but I specifically said, are you not briefed on these things? And the officer said to me, we have more important things to do. And I said, you're combing the beach for gathering limits.
Do they not brief you daily about these things?
Well, we have other things to brief on.
I said, that is your most important job right now. That's what you're doing. You're hammering that. And you're going to say that you weren't briefed that the law had changed. So it was rather embarrassing on, I would say, the entire OPP for that fact.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we've seen that here across Ontario repeatedly over the last, I can't even keep track anymore, almost a year and a half, that the laws are just continually changing. And it's almost as though they're intentionally confusing for people. But it looks like even law enforcement, I mean, can you make sense of what happened? And then what was the recourse from the police at that point? You know, were they apologetic?
So I mean, it was funny because on our walk back, once I started recording and actually we started saying things on this recording, the one officer put on his mask, and he didn't do this when he was on the beach with 5,000 people. So that was my first indication that it's like, he's like, uh-oh, what did I get myself into here? Because then he started realizing that there's no basis here, but he has to go through because he didn't know the law and he thought that we were above the limit. So he had to keep pushing forward. When he realized that it was 25, the one officer that I was dealing with was actually, his name was Mortimer. He was very, not apologetic, but he was kind of like, oh, you know, just we're trying to protect the people, and like very, you know, trying to justify his actions after being embarrassed, but without backing down too much because they had egg on their face. The other officer just was doubling down with Kurt, and he was just being like, you're not going anywhere until I know for sure, you know, get back here. And then even when our friend came over yelling about the limit change, he told her he's going to arrest her for a distrirbance.
Are you calling Doug Ford? What's going on?
You might as well leave, man, because you're going to cause a disturbance and you're going to get
Hold up, no, just relax.
Because this guy was really off the rocker, his partner there. So apologetic, no, they were more embarrassed than anything that they didn't know the law. And it's just a sad day in our country when people like us are educating them on the laws they're supposed to know.
Yeah, that's a great point. And also to go back to the fact that feel like you were politically profiled for having those normal lockdown signs. I mean, have you experienced that ever before? Enjoying a day on the beach with maybe some signage that is of political dissident?
So not typically, no. This was the first time. I mean, I have had bylaw show up at my house for a barbecue. I do have a no more lockdown sign in front of my house. You know, I support no more lockdowns full through. I really have a lot of respect for Randy and Chelsea Hillier. And I want to actually congratulate her while we're here on her nomination for London Elgin. But no, it was definitely targeted on us because of those signs. The way he even said, oh, no, it's not because of those signs, you could tell in his voice and his mannerisms that he knew that we knew it was because of that. Everybody on that beach knew what it was. And everybody that was even in the crowd surrounding were all like, what do you do? And like, they were all like, you know, saying curse words about the lockdowns. And like the one officer's like, well, this is exactly what we wanted to avoid. We didn't want a scene like this. And it's like, well, you brought it on yourself. Like they caused this whole big thing. And it was because of the no more lockdown sign. The partner said to us, he's like, you got the signs out here on the beach. You can hear this in the video.
Okay. No. And you're saying no lockdown. You're saying, look, I don't care about those rules. Show us to respect the rules. And the fact that COVID is very dangerous. It's killing a lot of people.
You have the signs out here on the beach, and it means you don't respect authority.
I am a cop, and you will respect my authority.
You don't respect the rules. So he specifically said that. So yes, it was definitely a profiled, I would say, attack because of our signage.
Wow. Now, the fact that the police walked you away from the original place where they approached you to their vehicles, I mean, I don't know standard police protocol, but do you have any idea why they would have removed you from the situation to give tickets that never actually came to fruition?
So on one part, I'm kind of glad they did, because it's embarrassing for my daughter's there, and my daughter's 5 years old. She's wanted to be a police officer ever since she was 3. And it's embarrassing to have to go home that night and teach her that this is not policing. This is not how you do it. So I'm glad that they did walk us away so we could have our conversations. That being said, I believe it was truly just to shame us in front of everyone, to kind of make a point to show that they're the authority on the beach. They were combing the beach earlier, looking for people who were drinking. They were sending them, if you had a can of beer, they were sending some people home, and they were on a power trip, it looked like to me.
Fair enough. Well, just in closing, Kyle, do you have a message for fellow Ontarians, maybe the OPP or the local police and or government, with these flip-floppy, ever-changing, revolving door of restrictions that no one can keep track of?
Absolutely. I think that, first of all, the police should be educated daily. If not daily, when the law changes, because they are arbitrary and they change every day. The moment it does, the next day's briefing should be on that. It should be, listen, the limit's 25. Make sure you're not ticketing. But it almost seems like they're changing the rules, but not changing the standards the police departments and OPP are following. So I think there's got to be a miscommunication between the government and the local law enforcement, and I think that needs to be rectified. And I don't think that I think to have true faith restored in the system, they better start being a little more transparent. They better start getting their laws right and getting the communication down pat, and not just making it a big confusing mess. Because when it's confusing like this and it's back and forth, that people easily lose faith in the system. You get out there anyways. I mean, the more people that stand up and go out to the beach and go have fun, if you do disagree with the lockdowns, truly get out there.
This type of subjective rule enforcement with no real justification as to why gathering limits are what they are is exactly what's gotten a lot of our fight the fines cases tangled up with the law. These aren't hardened criminals. They're just normal, everyday people trying to live their normal, everyday lives. Some, yes, in united noncompliance to oppose the obscene health mandates, and others because they know that complying with these nonsensical orders will do more harm to their mental health than COVID ever would do to their physical body. Kyle makes a great point that officers should be trained and at least briefed when the laws magically change overnight to reflect the dictator's flavor of the day. See, this is exactly the kind of things that happen when we have public health officials morphing themselves into lawmakers. You will get a bunch of discombobulated, unconstitutional, and arbitrary rules. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. Not every police interaction over the last year and a half has a happy ending like Kyle's. If you've received one of these ridiculous COVID fines for simply living your life at your own risk, we don't want you to pay it. We want you to fight it. Head over to fightthefines.com and submit your tickets there. We will crowdfund for your legal defense and put you in touch with a top-notch lawyer who will fight your fines at no cost to you. If you're able, please consider donating to this massive civil liberties initiative, which now qualifies as a taxable donation through the registered Canadian charity called the Democracy Fund. All of this can be found at fightthefines.com.